Hi, it's Nikki.
Hey guys, it's Jennifer.
It's Queens of the Ring.
Wrestling, and not that we don't ever mention them, but we actually have an opinion. We actually are intelligent. We're not marks, and we know what we're talking about. So if you hear that it's a woman's opinion, don't think that it's just Finn Balor's abs.
Or what's in his pants.
But let's be real, he knows what he's doing.
And we all see it. So I kind of feel like Marty is the guy version of me. I mean, like, does that make me the villainess?
He's like your male doppelganger.
He is.
It's like a cosplay.
It's a cosplay, but like in real life.
It really is. Do you have a black umbrella? You do.
I do.
You do. Honestly, over the last few months, I can say that at this point, most wrestling fans want to be Cody Rhodes when they grow up. I do.
I know I do.
I mean, he's a self-made man. He doesn't take no for an answer. He handles his shit, and he has a hot wife. And yeah, and he has like
what? Lots of money.
Yeah, and like 3 belts right now, right? 2, 3. Yeah.
And cute dogs.
And cute dog. Pharaoh. So, I mean, Cody's living his best life without WWE. Oh, who knew?
That's iconic.
It's iconic. Cody is goals.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
So, the madness is over.
It was ever been the glorious dumpster fire we hoped it would be.
Girl,
and
that
the
was more than that was more than a dumpster fire. That was like a dump fire.
Oh God!
Like
we're not talking about the women. The women was great.
The women were great. Was freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Crown Jewel was a dump fire.
Oh my God. I didn't watch it. We didn't watch it.
Nope.
But just
Twitter.
No. Twitter kept us informed.
Thank
Complete
God.
with gifts. Yeah. Although I'm not sure Total Divas episodes if they gifted or not. Did they? I kind of think they didn't. I don't remember seeing it.
Look.
They're like the #1 source for wrestling gifts on Twitter, so.
And Tumblr.
They gift like everything, but I don't remember seeing any by them. But it was a hot mess from what little I did see. Like, I'm telling you guys, we thought the Taker and Triple H match was bad in Australia. It looked 10 times worse this time.
Oh, Jesus. That was
so much worse.
That was something. It doesn't look like they did.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, the last one they had was Impact and Shimmer, so nope.
All right, good for them. But between that, and then you have Shane McMahon winning the World Cup, which didn't have any people other than Americans in it to begin with. And then you have the boss's son, one of the other bosses, winning the World Cup. To be proclaimed the best in the world.
Yes, because all of the other best in the world were too fucking busy or don't fucking care.
Yeah. They've moved on. Oh my gosh. I saw like all these memes where people were like putting Shane's head on like CM Punk's body. And there was like this clip that was going around too that was like this little short video clip, and it was from a Raw episode, and Vince was like, I don't care what you all think, and CM Punk was like, that's the damn problem. I'm like, yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can say whatever you want about Punk, but he was always honest and always like knew what
spot on.
Yeah. And didn't care about he would say it. He didn't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Apparently he's not the best in the world. Jericho's not the best in the world.
The one thing that Punk was always right about is Vince is a millionaire that should be a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a good quote.
Yeah.
Because
he's dumb.
He's dumb. But yeah, Kenny's not the best in the world. Okada's not the best in the world. Marty. Yeah. Bucks.
Will Ospreay, no.
Cody.
Jay White, no.
No. But
no.
But that Shane McMahon, who's like what, 45 or something?
48.
He is currently right now the best wrestler in the world. Which the only thing that saves that just a tad bit is that the Universal Champion is once again Brock Lesnar, which is more of a joke than Shane being the best in the world. Although they're kind of neck and neck.
Honestly, I feel like Vince was like, you know what? All these fucking people are going to boycott me. I'm just going to make them even more angry.
Doesn't surprise me. I think that for us to honestly think that Strowman would have won it anyway, it was dumb. Because that would have been the smart thing to do.
I had high hope.
People were saying like it was like a slap in the face to Roman, and I think it kind of was, really. Like, oh, you're not around anymore? We're just going to give it back to the other guy. Like, we thought you let you have it for a while, but we're just going to give it back to the other guy. It's ridiculous.
When does Drew save us?
His push is supposed to start now. So.
Please save us, Drew.
So I'm assuming after Survivor Series, possibly, we might get something. Maybe around Rumble time, he might, win the Battle Royal, maybe? Royal Rumble? It'd be cool if he took it off of...
I wouldn't be mad at that.
It'd be cool if he took it off Lesnar at Mania. That would be pretty cool. I would have no voice.
Yeah. Hey, if he took it off at Rumble, I'd be happy too.
But either one, it'd be like Big Daddy Drew has saved us.
He saved us from the beast.
Disgusting. But let's talk about something that is worth talking about. Let's talk about Evolution.
Oh my god, it actually was really good.
And let me tell you, the only
other than Charlotte.
Interrupted you. I was gonna say the only man that was there was Becky Lynch.
Yeah, that's true. And then the fact that Charlotte botched that table spot.
But other than that, it was great.
I never knew that you could use fake boobs to try to break a table.
She's lucky that she didn't bust one. She busted one a while back, right? So she's lucky she didn't do it again.
Yeah.
That would have been bad.
That's literally what we said. We're like, gosh, she probably busted her boobs again.
You gotta be careful with those things, I guess. I wouldn't know, but I would imagine you have to wear some like I would wear some sort of reinforcements, like under there, some kind of extra protection. Jeez.
Well, yeah. Like you're like, oh, I'm gonna break this table. Oops, missed.
But it was really, really good. It was hailed like the best female match of the year and possibly the best match of the year so far. Which I could see.
Yeah, Meltzer, who sometimes we don't put a lot of stock in, but I will at least maybe said it gave it the highest rating of any female match of all time.
I could see that.
Charlotte versus Becky. And let me tell you, I loved it.
They didn't, hold back at all. Like Becky's flying off a ladder.
No.
They're like beating each other with like, was it chairs they were beating each other with? Or yeah, it was just.
Oh yeah,
it was good. They did not hold back, and that has a lot to do with the fact that they know each other so well too. It just made it really, really good. And plus, Becky's just totally badass right now, so made it even better. She is. I'm getting one of those shirts. Oh, I didn't tell you. I've decided she's gonna be one of my cosplays because I have leather leggings already, and I have a leather jacket already. So I'm gonna get me the I'm the Man shirt and put some kind of braids in my hair and get me a SmackDown belt, and I'm gonna be Becky. I could do that. Yeah, probably at Rumble. Probably at one of the Access days at Rumble, because I have pretty much everything for it other than the shirt. So yeah,
there you go.
I won't mind being the best in the world. Becky's the best in the world compared to Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
She should
Becky
have.
should have won that.
I saw this meme that said, there's a beast and the best in the world, and I can't remember what the other one was, and it said, and then we have the man, and it was Becky. Yeah.
Because we all root for Becky. We
Becky
love
can
Becky.
do no wrong. Although I do like something I read the other day that said they should change her music to be more like badass, with like some kind of bagpipe sounds in it that's like really badass. I think that'd be pretty cool. We'll go with her new persona.
Yeah.
A little bit better than her upbeat music. Dean Ambrose.
Ambrose?
So I thought they would announce on Evolution Night they were going to have the Women's Tag Team Championships. Although there were people with signs. And yeah, but not yet.
Oh.
It's coming though. Like all the women are tweeting about it. Like
it's really getting annoying that they haven't announced it yet.
I'm wondering if it's Survivor Series they might.
Because we need our girls to get them.
Like I feel like in Survivor Series that could be a match, like maybe 4 tag teams. Survival, the fittest, and the ones that win get the belts. So I hope so. But like everybody's saying they think it's gonna be Sasha and Bailey though, and I don't want that.
No, we want the Iconics.
Bailey. Yeah.
Blech.
Anybody.
I want Bailey to turn on Sasha.
And it didn't last very long. I don't know.
No.
Like first she hated her, then she was in love with her, or Sasha was in love with her. Like it was very confusing.
I'm still confused.
I don't get it. Like, are they fucking? Like, are they not? Like, I don't understand.
Can we get some clarification?
We need to know. Yeah.
It's complicated.
Oh gosh. But and actually the Riot Squad match versus them and Natalya was actually good. Like everybody was kind of running it down. Like us included were like, oh, we've seen this a million times on Raw, but it was actually really good.
Oh. And another match that I didn't think was going to be good was the Battle Royal.
Sure, that was good.
I thought it was going to be a hot mess.
But I'm sad. I'm sitting here trying to remember who won it. Nia.
It was Nia, right. And I wasn't happy about who won it, but
I did too. I kept thinking when she had her like over the rope, like almost had her flipped over that rope, I was like, oh my god, this would be the best ending ever. And then didn't happen. But remember me saying that Zelina would win? When she came in at the very end, I was like, oh my god, I was right. But I wasn't right, but I know, I got excited. I was like, oh my god.
I know, right?
But
that's what I thought too.
I wanted Ember or Zelina.
No, seriously, we were just like, oh my god, Zelina, and then it was like,
it's kind of a waste.
Really? But damn, Zelina came down on Tamina's face real hard.
Oh man!
Oh shit! Not
and
her
now
face.
it seems like we're gonna have a Tamina versus Nia feud, which is kind of funny to me because in the Battle Royal they were more working together, and I thought that they were on the same page. So I'm kind of confused. No, not me either. Because
really
you know
does
that
nothing
it's not
for
like
me,
that.
though.
You know?
No, it does nothing for me. It just really does nothing for me, though. Like, I'm not interested.
And I feel bad because I used to like Nia, but ever since WrestleMania, I don't know. I've just not liked her.
I think after she went after Alexa and was,
and you know, we all thought that was actually, they really did have a falling out. But did you see the other day where Nia dressed up her dog as Alexa and said that the dog was Aunt Alexa for Halloween? I'm like, oh well, they must still get along.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and I mean, Alexa, somebody actually asked her point blank, like, are you guys not friends anymore or what's going on? And she's like, no, we're friends. It's just like, we grew apart. We're still friends. We still get along. It's just, we grew apart and, we're on different schedules and I'm only home one day a week and
Nia's shooting.
That's what it is. And
now her and Paige are best.
So, I mean, I get it. But
it is sad. I mean, they always had time for each other before. They're on the same show.
I think the difference is, like, when you're shooting Total Divas, it seems like they have you just going and going and going all the time kind of a thing. And then Alexa was shooting Total Divas. But Alexa decided not to keep going with it, and it turned into not, that, there isn't any more time.
She was only on one season, right, Alexa? I think it was one season. You there?
Oh, sorry, I hit mute. Sorry. I hit mute on accident. Sorry, guys. But it seemed like when the Bellas weren't on the road, that, like, they weren't as close to everybody. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I think, I get it, but I think it's still sad.
But back to the pay-per-view. I do too. I don't care what people say about her. I like her too.
One last thing about Alexa before we go to the pay-per-view. Freaking Larry Steve was in his stroller today, and he is the cutest thing in the world.
He dressed up for Halloween.
And he's massive.
That's sad.
I don't think he did. Did he? I don't think he did. But Murphy puts him on Instagram a lot. And it was yesterday, because Murphy stayed home. They're in Spain. Alexa went to Spain, and Murphy stayed home with Larry, Steve, and the dogs and all of them. But Larry Steve sleeps in their bed. And he had his Instagram on, and Larry Steve had his snout like right up against his ear, and I was like, "Oh my god,
that's cute!" But I couldn't do it.
So big though.
If I would want one if it didn't get big, but
I want one.
So I'm gonna say something that's really gonna fire you up. Ronda Rousey is still the champion. What did you think about that match? I'm gonna need you to elaborate.
Bullshit.
I would love to see Becky win. She might. She very well might.
I hope Becky breaks her arm. Like, I cannot stand her. Like, I can't. I'm so over her.
Some people are starting to feel the same way, finally.
Ugh. Go away. Right. Like, we felt that way since the beginning. And I'm so happy people are starting to finally get on this train.
I just,
I don't know. Go away.
And, like, the argument is from the other side is, oh, she's a great athlete. She may be a great athlete. But she's not ready. Well, yeah, but at the same time, like, she has very little training at this particular sport. She got thrown onto the main roster with very, very little training. She got kicked off the roster for a whole month because she had to go back and train because she messed up so much. Like, she may be a good athlete, but she's not a good wrestler. She has handed everything. Like, to me, putting her, like, right in the middle of the title picture from the very beginning when she had such little training was stupid. Like, either make her train a whole lot more before you even put her out there, or don't start her out that way.
Exactly. And she's already injured. She's injured Alexa twice. She injured Nia, and she injured... Who was the third person? There was a third person. Nia, Alexa. She looked like she was about to hurt Nikki and Brie.
And, like, there was all this comparison. I think we talked about this last week. All the comparison. Oh, Mickey. Yeah. Like, how she's hurting people versus Mickey. Brie hurting people, and people are saying it's not the same. Like, it's the same. Like, I don't care if people want to say, oh, well, Brie's been wrestling for 10 years and Brie shouldn't make these mistakes. Brie took a lot of time off, had a baby, helped, take care of this baby, and then came back into the ring. Yeah, well, you know what I mean? Like, she spent her time taking care of a baby instead of
raising a baby,
training or whatever. And she's still being a mom, still raising a baby or whatever. But she came back, and yeah, she fucked up a couple times. Yeah, she hurt somebody, and that was bad. But I just feel like it's a little bit different than her kicking somebody accidentally in the face is a little bit different than some of the ways that Ronda has hurt people.
Like, Ronda
that's something
legitimately
you can
ripped
a little bit more than
Alexa's arm out of the shoulder. Like, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
yeah, like, did they both fuck up?
I have a little more sympathy for Brie.
But don't make it sound like Ronda's afforded a pass and Brie's not.
Exactly. And I mean, the thing with Brie is she's not being booked as this amazing wrestler. Like, it's never been said that she was this amazing wrestler.
She's never had the women's title belt, right?
She's never even said that herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Nikki has.
And I think that's because Nikki wants to be
better than Brie.
Brie's
at wrestling.
Brie's happy where she's at, and her main focus is her family and
exactly
helping and supporting her sister. So I don't think Brie wants a title belt. I don't think she wants any of that. So
exactly.
And again, she is a great athlete, but she's not a good wrestler. She's just not.
Like, she sucks. She sucks.
So the little hopes I had of Nikki winning died pretty quickly, though. I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. And then I got really confused because when Nikki did her, like, backstage, like, exit interview, she was like, there will be other opportunities, and next time, I'll be back, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, does that mean you're not coming back anytime soon? And then at the end, when everybody came out at the end of the show onto the ramp, like, Bellas weren't there. Like, it seemed like everybody else was there except for the Bellas. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, why weren't they there? I don't know why, but it was weird. But poor Charlotte. When they were all standing there, Charlotte looked like hell. Yeah. You could tell she had just been through it. But that goes to show, look what...
She's like, I'm dead. I'm just dead. And Becky's sitting there just like...
But that just goes to show you, look at Charlotte. The side eye. She's like, I'm going to murder and then look at right now. What condition Ronda's in, Like... But she put on a lot better show.
I'm so happy. And Charlotte's like, I'm about to die. Yeah. I just thought it was funny how Becky's just looking over like, I could end it right now. I could just end it right now.
If she had dropped her, yeah.
She should have. That would have been entertaining as hell. That would have
been good. But they wanted to make it all about unity.
She just dropped her right there. Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
I would have dropped her right there.
Probably. If I was Becky, I would have, yeah.
Jen, don't lie. You would have dropped her.
Speaking of Ronda, because she hurt Alexa and kept Alexa out of Evolution. You had Foxy taking her place against Trish and Lita. Her and Mickey versus Trish and Lita, which I thought was decent. I didn't think it was great, but
I wasn't impressed.
It was the nostalgia factor, but
I wasn't impressed.
Compared to the nostalgia factor of having Taker
I was like,
and Triple H up.
Oh God! At least it wasn't
could stand up on their own 2 feet.
At least it wasn't a combined age of 200
do the
out there.
Moves and sell something like it was. It may not have been that great, but at least they're not these old fogies out there that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Ugh. Did you see where Taker was trying to?
Well, yeah. I mean, Kane's mask
Taker was trying
fell
to throw
off
Triple H into the barrier.
It fucking fell off.
Yeah, they were holding hands and running.
Yeah, and they looked like we were just running together.
Oh my God! And then there's that meme, that gif of Taker, like where he's like laying down on the floor of on the ring, and like his hair is in his face, and he keeps like blowing his hair trying to get out of his face. Oh my God, guys! If you want to see some entertainment, especially if you didn't watch it, go on Twitter. Like all the important things you need to see are on Twitter.
Yeah, and then Kane doesn't move the monitors off the table and chokeslams Hunter through the table. Right on, like flat back, right on top of the monitor. So Hunter fucks his back up. And then Hunter fucks his arm up.
Like, I didn't see all of it, so I don't know how HBK looked.
Oh my God. He did a moonsault and landed on his head, landed on Taker's boot, and he cut his eyebrow open. Yeah. Yeah, and then he's like, I'm too old. And then at the end, he's looking at Hunter, he's like, we're too old
didn't
for
Shawn
this.
like sign a multi-match deal, though?
You think?
I was thinking that he did.
Like...
I'm sure he's like totally humiliated.
In the interview after, he's like, I think I'm done. Oh my God. Well, it was a shit show.
Well,
like,
I mean, HBK was hitting him in the head or something.
Like,
there was something going on.
Anything. It just fell off.
It did fall off, yeah.
And
like, we don't know what he looks like.
And then he grabs his face like it's really burnt.
God.
Yeah.
I think Shawn's the most capable one in there at this point. Poor Triple H.
Shawn maybe was laughing to himself too at that point too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, until Hunter got hurt, yeah. And then it was like, at the end, like the gif, they're sitting in the corner and Hunter's just sitting there looking like he's dead. And Shawn just looks over and you could see him just mouth, we're too old for this. It's like, yeah.
They'll keep going.
I think they're starting to understand what the fans were saying now.
They'll keep going.
You're too old.
Let's just
He's like,
backstage.
Shawn, I got this idea. And Shawn's like, maybe not. Like literally in the interview, he's like, I'm just ready to go back to my old life now. You think? You think? Taker looks like he's just trying to like, when he's getting up, he looks like he's like, trying to grab for the
ropes
your
childhood
to your
going
life.
Down the drain. It's horrible.
It's like, oh God.
Like we actually discussed this in the interview that is going to follow this with Alex, but like I was asking him about like how he feels about the older guys coming back and having these matches, and he was kind of like for it and talking about how it draws people to watch and blah blah. And I get that. And, like, if you want to earn your spot, you need to earn it. And I get that, too. But at the same time, when it's that bad, Wouldn't it be worth it just to like take some, some mid-carders out there and just see what they could do? Like, would it really be that hard? I mean, anything. Take somebody that's,
point,
I don't care. Like, anybody. Like, this is just
embarrassing.
Like, you're just embarrassing your company doing this. It's just awful. I did.
Like, when we recorded with Alex, we didn't know how bad. Well, we knew. I think he didn't know how bad.
And not for me. I mean, think about what happened in Super Showdown or whatever.
And I think even for us, it was worse than we thought.
Like, even my husband, one of the biggest marks in the world, was like, that made me want to cry. That was horrible.
We didn't know that.
Oh. Horrible.
Like, we didn't know.
I don't want to watch Crown Jewel. Like, I don't. But I want him to watch it.
People were going to get hurt.
Just because I want him to watch that match and just tell me his opinion on it. I'd be like, I don't want you to watch anything else. Just watch that one match and just tell me your opinion on it. And I guarantee we should get him on here next week. I'll make him watch it. And then I'll be like, as a true mark, I want you to tell us what you thought about that match. Because, I mean, he's... Oh my god, I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it.
Seriously, as the tweets were coming in, I was just like, this is worse than I thought. Well, I knew it was going to be bad, but then, it's like, oh, Kane just flat-backed Hunter into these monitors, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Kane's mask just fell off. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Like, literally the whole time I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. Literally all I just kept repeating was,
back to Evolution real quick. Let's run through some of the others. Toni Storm won the Mae Young Classic.
Oh.
No, I'm not surprised either. And she's okay. I mean, I'm not a huge Toni Storm fan, but it was a decent match. I wasn't surprised.
Not surprised.
Yeah. And then your favorite NXT woman beat the little pirate for the belt. I know. I felt bad for Kairi Sane. I didn't like how rough she was with her. Like, it was just a little unnecessary. And then her
pissed me off so
posse
bad.
Down there. Yeah. I was so thinking, and I even said that last week on the podcast. I was, especially after I saw that,
the faux
I was so thinking there would be like a showdown between, the 8 of them at some point during the night, but there wasn't. I was waiting for it though. I still think it's going to happen. Maybe at Mania. I don't know. But it'll be interesting.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm trying. She probably could.
Blech.
Out of all of them, she probably could. She could scrap. She's very scrappy.
Can Becky kick all of their asses?
I like that about her.
I want her to.
She is. I'm trying to think of the other matches off the top of my head. What else am I forgetting?
She's a man.
What do we want to say about her?
I don't know, but can we talk about Maria Kanellis?
I know. Oh, I know. Like those gifs of like the dads in the audience with the kids. So cute.
And Freddie Moon was there.
So cute. So cute. Like, there's mommy. It was so cute.
I know.
Everybody looked good.
Little Freddie Moon was there.
Maurice looked good even though she wasn't in the ring.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I know. So cute.
Freddie Moon and Monroe Sky got to meet, and
cute.
I love it.
I just think it's really cool that they went to go watch it and brought her. I thought that was really cool.
We were just missing Birdie.
Because it was important. It is important. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love Miz and Asuka.
I love it.
They're
And they were there to
adorable.
cheer on
They're
Asuka.
adorable. Except for Team Little Big, but
They're the best team. I know. I love them.
he was.
You know what? I do love Bailey and Finn's team. Finn was there to cheer on Bailey.
I like Carmella and Truth.
He was. And I do love Ember and Braun.
Mella looked good in her little 80s outfit.
We're talking about the Mixed Match Challenge. Yes, Truth was there to cheer on Carmella.
I'm becoming a really big Mella fan.
Mella looked amazing. I want that outfit.
Well, yeah.
I love Mella.
They did, even though they got eliminated first.
Money.
Damn. They're just jealous.
And our Iconics looked amazing.
They really are. They're that
I
ultimate
know.
power duo.
It's you know why? It's exactly, and they're that big of a threat.
Haters.
They are. They are. They're just that upset.
So yeah, all in all, a very good pay-per-view. A very, very good pay-per-view compared to the hot
Iconic
mess. Not even hot, the mess that was Crown Jewel. It kind of is, isn't it? Yeah. And did you also read where Evolution was produced by the NXT
I feel
producers?
like it's karma. I feel like it is. It's
very
karma.
interesting.
Uh-huh. And not Kevin Dunn, who produces Raw and the pay-per-views and is Vince's right-hand man.
Like horse
And he's
teeth?
got big teeth. He does. Look up a picture of Kevin Dunn, guys. You will see it. He's got big teeth.
Okay, that's the worst part then. We should talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
people's teeth.
Ooh, girl.
Oh,
And he's
gosh.
creepy. And he's creepy.
That's true, but that could be really painful.
He's real creepy.
You have to have your gums like moved and all
Hey,
that
he's
stuff.
got the money to get him
That's painful.
fixed.
I don't have any experience with Invisalign, but I know regular braces and all that shit is very painful. Oh, well, I know. I got
Get some
real braces.
Invisalign or something.
And I had headgear. Oh my god, I was a little kid from Finding Nemo. I had headgear. Let me tell you, that shit hurt.
I've had both.
That hurt so bad because you'd have to tighten it like every night. You had this huge thing in the roof of your mouth. It had these little like prong things on it, and you'd have to tighten it every night. And it hurt so fucking bad. Oh my god, it was awful. I didn't wear it for very long. But oh my god, it was awful. Like the torture people put their children through.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
Oh yeah, my retainers I gave up on. I hated them.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I had braces.
That's when my bottom teeth are a little crooked again because I was like, I'd rather just be a little crooked. My mother got really mad at me. She's like, "We spent all this money and you're gonna let them be crooked?" I'm like,
"Yeah." I gave up on that too.
I don't have the gap between my two front teeth anymore, so who cares? My top teeth are okay. My bottom teeth are crooked, but my top teeth weren't super crooked to begin with.
That's why my top teeth are slightly crooked.
My two front teeth. So.
No. But anyway, guys, go on YouTube and look up Kevin Dunn, and you guys will Kevin Dunn WWE. You guys will laugh your asses off.
I have a whiny dog in there. I can hear him.
Seriously, it is.
Oh my god, he sounds horrible. He's fine. Why is he pitching a fit? My dog is almost 2 weeks post-op, I think, from his surgery. He's whining like a little baby in there. Alright, Kevin Dunn, WWE. I'm looking for him. I can't hear you again, by the way. I see him in this picture.
If you put it on YouTube, you can actually, it does bring up Kevin Dunn's teeth. Oh, Jim.
Yeah, the teeth are pretty big. Gotta admit.
It is Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette does
too.
bury Kevin Dunn, and it is the funniest shit in the world. Told you. He's the guy who comes up with really shitty storylines, and he's the one who said that Becky was a terrible promo because she has an accent.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we've talked a long time. Our interview's pretty long, isn't it?
Probably.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you explain what's going down tonight? You're going.
It is,
tonight.
guys. It is a long interview, but it is good. So I am going. So Alex Salyers, who is our interview / friend of the show, he has his 2 out of 3 falls match tonight at the AZ finale for CWFAZ. So
yeah, talking to him, it sounds like it's a very personal feud going on.
I hope him and Mike don't kill each other. That's all I hope.
Yeah. So hopefully not. Is it going to be live on Fight, or is it going to be put up on Fight later?
It is highly personal. It will be put up on Fight later. If you want to see where Mike bashes his head open, which is where he had to get staples in his head, that is actually up on Fight Network right now. I'll put it out on our social media too. But it is the Championship Wrestling from Arizona, the October 23rd episode.
Yeah.
And you will see where his head gets bashed open. Yes, the prelude. And then the one after the October 30th episode is where the match is set for the 2 out of 3 falls. So those are two bigger episodes featuring Alex, and today's taping is where it all comes to a head. And I hope he wins. I have high hopes, and I just hope he
I will know.
Doesn't get
I will be kept up to date, so I will know.
I hope not.
And apparently that's hot.
Jen will know.
Remember when you told him in the interview, they'll hear in a minute, whenever you're like, oh, I sent Jen a picture of your staples in your head.
And
he was like, that's hot.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I was like, yeah, I pretty much know you.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Jen saw his head wound.
I've seen your head.
Staples,
I've seen your blood. I've seen everything. Oh, man. Seen it all. All right, so.
You pretty much do.
We're going to get out of here because she has to get ready and I have stuff to do.
Seen it all. Yes. Yes. But stick around for the interview because it is really insightful. Very insightful. For once. But really, guys, enjoy it and let us know what you think.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
So we're here with Alex Salyers, who is a friend of the show.
And a fan of the show.
And a fan of the show.
All right.
This is your second time, second and a half time, because you were on the All In pre-show. Which
Which was a hot mess.
That was a hot mess.
We won't even count that. We'll
That's true.
We'll just say this is my first time.
No.
Because this is more of like a
Actual sit-down interview?
this is an actual sit-down interview where I'll actually answer questions and be truthful and not be so
Crazy?
opinionated with a drunken preface to it. So
Are you sure about that?
positive.
Okay.
That's good to know.
If you say so.
Okay, well, I get to be the interviewer today, which is
Yes.
I
And
know
I'll chime in.
I've never really interviewed anybody before, but
I have a few questions, but
okay. Well, we were
we'll
talking.
have Jen go first because her questions are more what everybody will want to know.
Probably, and then I have a couple that I think are interesting. But.
Well, the first question that needs to be answered, yes, absolutely. My arms are bigger than Hulk Hogan's.
I can vouch for that. They are.
They look bigger, and they're not roided out. So, yeah.
And he's got a better personality than Hulk Hogan, too.
It doesn't everybody?
You do.
Everybody does. Really. I don't like Hulk Hogan. Just my opinion. Okay, so we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff before this, which I wish we had recorded.
I know.
That seems to always happen when I'm on a podcast. We end up having this preliminary discussion, and then they're like, man, that was gold the way you just opened up and just said all that. Why didn't we hit the microphone button?
I know, we should have.
From now on, we'll just hit record right when we start, and then we'll just cut everything out if you just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Revolutionary.
That's true. That's true.
We'll just do that from now on.
All right, so I guess let's start at the beginning. When do you remember first getting into watching wrestling?
Everything I answer, like, just so you know, is going to be a little unorthodox and probably totally unexpected. I started watching wrestling at 4 years old. My mom, for whatever reason, and I don't particularly remember this, and I guess this is just only by the memory that I have to go by as far as my mom seems to tell the story. I was into boxing first, and I was boxing with my uncle in diapers, and one day my mom was flipping the channels and came across pro wrestling, and it caught my eye, and I asked her not to flip the channel, and I stopped and watched and fell in love by accident. It was the most disastrous, beautiful thing that ever happened to me. The very first match I ever watched was Chris Benoit versus Dean Malenko.
Oh, Chris Benoit. I still love him. I'm sorry. I've said it before on this show.
And I've said this before as well. If you watch my work, if there's anything to be said about my work, you can see who I looked up to in the wrestling business as far as a realistic stature in the wrestling ring, really is attributed to. I think it's fair to say that I couldn't have been exposed to the wrestling business with any two better craftsmen as far as pro wrestlers go than Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit.
That's true.
And I was 4 years old. That would have been 1990. It was between 3 and 4, I guess. So it was either 1996 or 1997.
So when did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
When I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestle Bret the Hitman Hart for the first time at WrestleMania 13.
And why is that?
Nothing about that. Like, there had never been anything I had ever seen ever in my life that made me believe the sport was as real as it was at that time as an impressionable little kid that I was at the time, where I thought this is so real and this is so invoking. And I was so hooked and I was so in love, and my life was held hostage from there on. And my poor mother too. I always say that, my poor mother, whose every Monday night was held hostage, flipping channels between Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro. She was a trooper. She stuck with it, and she supported me through that. but it was WrestleMania 13 where I was just like, I'm just so, like, my heart has just been captivated, and so is my mind. There's nothing I want to do with my life other than this. And, not that I haven't, I won't lie, WrestleMania 12 had a big impact on me as well. When I saw the 60-minute Iron Man match, that was not so much of a thing where I was just like, oh, I'm so captivated, and I have suspended my disbelief so much because as a kid I didn't understand the concept of suspending your disbelief for the sake of the sport. But I just thought, man, like, two guys can wrestle for 60 minutes and fight that hard. And I remember thinking that as just a little kid. And I was just like, you're not going to find many guys who can do that. And I was like, that to me made this such a respectable sport. Even as just a little kid, I was just kind of like, that was like, this is a real man's sport. This is bigger than football. This is bigger than boxing. This is bigger than everything. And that probably had a lot to do with the personas that had that 60-minute Iron match between Bret and John Michaels. So that had a preliminary impact to it, but it was WrestleMania 13 where I watched Austin bleed like a stuffed pig and not give up. And King Shamrock had to pull Bret Hart off of him. And everybody asks me if there was one match they can go back and watch over and over again and not get tired of. It's that one. Still to this day, I'll be 25 in a few weeks, and that is one match I still to this day sit and watch like a little kid, and I'm such a fan of that match. And I wouldn't trade that. I would not trade that. I would hold that match against anybody of today's world that is kind of like a newer generation of a wrestling fan. I would hold that match against any one of theirs any day of the week, and I truly believe it would stand the test of time.
That's cool. So how did you get involved? What did you do to get into the company that you're in? Did you start in that company or did you start somewhere else first?
I sold my soul to the devil.
Oh, great.
Oh, well. That's encouraging to everybody out there who wants to be a wrestler.
Oh, great.
No.
Do I want to know?
Well,
I want to know.
In my opinion, and I'm not trying to make it like a dark and cynical thing, but that to me, that's what I attribute it to sometimes, because that's what it
almost takes.
Looking back at when I started, that's kind of maybe what I did, and I just didn't realize at the time. I was way, way too young to be getting my foot into the wrestling. I was 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
My aunt, I had always talked about wanting to be a pro wrestler, and I would do anything, take anything I could get. Someday, somehow, some way. My aunt, I still to this day don't know how she came across them, but she came across a local wrestling promotion. It was a Lucha Libre promotion called Piranha Promotions. They held about 1,200 people every single Sunday religiously at a Mercado arena. She came across them and called my mom and said, hey, there's this wrestling promotion in town, and they're looking for people to train. My mom hung up the phone and called them immediately and was like, my son has always wanted to be a pro wrestler and would really like a shot. And I had been such an avid follower, and I was one of those dorks that even in the 7th grade was wrestling with a bodybuilder, or one of those stupid little dolls that you can buy from the WWE.
Ruffle buddies?
They had a battery pack. Oh, my nose. Something stupid like that.
I still want one.
I still have them.
Oh, yeah, we try to get them.
Yeah, I had a Goldberg and a Sting wrestle buddy, and they were just that. They were my wrestling. I didn't grow up with many friends, because the kid that grows up watching wrestling doesn't grow up with very many friends.
It's true.
At least not in my generation. My mom called the promoter, Martin Martinez, And he said, well, bring him on down first for another training. We'll see how he does, and we'll go from there. And I've always been an athletic kid. I got in there, and it was very natural to me. And I don't mean to say that is like an arrogant thing. It was just for whatever reason, and it probably had to do with how serious I took it and how much of an avid follower I was of it as a kid. I just understood it.
Right.
You know, you put me on a gridiron and you put me on a football field, I might not understand how to perform every play. I'll be honest. You put me in a wrestling ring, and that is a place I feel at home. And even on my first night of training, I felt very comfortable and did very well. And they were like, well, he is far surpassed an advanced learner. And within a couple of months, I had my first live wrestling match at 14.
At 14. Wow.
In front of about 2,000 people. It was in a baseball diamond. I forgot what kind of large event it was, but it was a big event. And I probably don't remember it very well, only because it was all in Spanish. But I wrestled 4 matches in one night, 2 without a mask as a heel in the Lucha Libre world. That is a rudo. 2 under a mask as a babyface, and in the Lucha Libre world, that is known as a technico. 4 out of 4 were, now that I can watch them, being where I'm at now and seeing and knowing what I know about wrestling. I hope to God those tapes never air or surface to the public. I will die of shame.
At the time, though, were you proud of it? You thought you did a really good job?
I don't remember being proud of it. I remember being critical and nervous as hell. And a little confused because this was one of those unorthodox things about my break-in to the wrestling business. I broke into a Lucha Libre company where everything was done in Spanish. And for those of you who don't know at home, Lucha Libre is a different world. The American-style wrestlers work left-handed. Lucha Libre, they work right-handed. I'm a right-handed guy. But the terminology and the way they call things in the ring, for example, and this did pose a very big problem for me, and I got in big trouble my first night in the wrestling business because of this. When they say, like, for example, they say the word suplex. Suplex means about 6 different things in a wrestling ring. It basically just means some sort of body slam of any sort. That's what they attribute a suplex to. I had a kid up on the top rope, and he said suplex. I'm a white guy, so I'm thinking, okay, suplex. And I hook his arm over my arm or over my head, and I'm trying to suplex him. He goes, no, suplex, 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 in very broken up English. And what he meant was an arm drag. Suplex and an arm drag are the same thing in Lucha Libre, and that was something I was not smart enough to. So I wasn't proud of my first night in the wrestling business. I was left with more questions than I, was left with answers. So it was hard for me to be proud of something I didn't quite really understand quite the way I thought and hoped I would by that point. That was a tough transition for me. However, I would be retrained as an American wrestler a few years later. And I've always said that I'll be employed by the wrestling business till I die. And I've always contributed that to the fact that I was trained in a very unorthodox way. I would work for Lucha Libre companies years later as the white guy in a Mexican crowd in a Mexican locker room and would always be the most favored guy. I would be in tag team matches where guys would be in masks and not speak a word of English, and my tag partner would be out there. He'd tag me in, and 1 minute I'm working right-handed as a luchador with a guy who wears a mask and doesn't speak English. and I was able to speak enough Spanish at the time, still can now, even better. And then by the time he tags his partner in who might be an American-style wrestler, he would get in the ring and wrestle left-handed. So I'd switch to my left hand because I was trained to be able to do both. So I'm like ambidextrous. There's only a few things that I can't do right-handed in my life. That's right and shoot a rifle. Actually, I take that back. I can shoot a rifle left-handed. But I always thought that was just like the weirdest thing. Like I just learned how to do wrestling with both hands. And so like looking back at it, it's just proud. Yes, a little bit, because I'm proud that like maybe that was the way I broke in. However, when I say that, that's like a thin red line right there when I say that, because I'm a father. I have a little girl at home, and if she walked up to me as a 14-year-old kid and said, "Well, I want to be a pro wrestler like you," I'd be like, "Absolutely not. When you turn 18, we will have this conversation again if you still feel that strongly about it." But you will absolutely, because my first night in the wrestling business was weird, and it was, looking at it from a parent's perspective, I don't know what my mother was thinking, but I also don't know what my mother was aware of that was going on behind the curtain. I mean, I would go out there and have my match, come back, and there was nothing in the locker room to drink but beer. And there was a group of us that were kids out there trying to perform. And then like La Parca from Mexico, the famous luchador that everybody knows by now, La Parca, like, was standing up on a chair butt naked, swinging his balls at everybody. And I'm a 14-year-old kid, not really understanding like what I've gotten myself into. I wouldn't trade that, but it was a learning curve and a learning experience. And I'm cautious as to how I present the wrestling business to my kid, because she's impressionable. She wants to do everything like her dad does, and I love that and I appreciate that. However, I understand what being in this business does to you and for you, and I'm very cautious as to what I expose her to in regards to the wrestling business.
All right. Just get to my next question.
Good answer.
It was a very good answer. So getting into the company that you're in now, how do you go about, like, how did you go about getting into this company? Like, your mom helped you with the first one.
Are we talking about, well, I'm sorry, I work for several different independent companies. Are we talking about the television company, Championship Wrestling from Arizona?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a weird one. Well, no. Well, there's some. It'd be a conflict of interest.
Okay.
And it would probably hurt a lot of feelings. But this is a very successful branch of the company, but it used to not be. We had Championship Wrestling from Arizona 4 or 5 years ago, run by a guy who will remain nameless. However, if I ever run into him face to face again, there will probably be a police report.
There'll be issues.
It was a very piss poor personification of Championship Wrestling from Arizona, and I don't know whether or not he was the originator of it. But it fell through after several years of trying very hard, and that was where I became an American-trained wrestler originally. Now, it went defunct. It went under, that company went belly up. At least I think it did. For a few years. And nobody heard anything about it after that. And then I would go on working all these other wrestling companies, but then Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is the parent company to what we have, to the establishment we have here in Arizona now. They run the United Wrestling Network. And it is in my opinion, very sophisticated. There's a very sophisticated presentation of pro wrestling. And they decided to make like a sister brand of it, which they would rebrand and I guess you could say resurrect Championship Wrestling from Arizona, and all owned by David Marquez and our executive producer being Nick Greenwood. They come down here and they film television as like a separate branch. We filmed 4 television episodes in one night, every taping. And so I kind of just got in the right place at the right time. I just kind of went on the road. For a little while, they were filming TV down in Tucson at a casino called Desert Line Casino. And I would show up there, help set up the ring, just make my presence known, shake hands, and introduce myself. And then they decided, like, okay, we're going to put you on TV and see what you got. Wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible enough for them to not book me again. So they asked me to keep coming back. And after a while, we moved away from Desert Diamond Casino. I think we relinquished our contract with them and moved over to the world famous Nile Theater, I should say.
Yes.
And what a blessing in disguise I think that was, because we've gotten such a following and we've gotten such a chance to survive on our own as a sister company that didn't have quite as much funding, didn't quite have as much faith. At least I think that's what the general consensus was as far as our production team went. And here I am, one of their top characters on the show. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I'm lucky enough to be there, and I had some of the right friends that were willing to pitch my name and vouch for me. So here I am now at the Nile Theater, which is where, it's home of Championship Wrestling from Arizona. We just passed our 100th episode, which is incredible. And to answer your question in a nutshell, I guess it was just, I started in this small-time promotion, if you can consider it a small-time promotion, that I had no business in, truthfully. And then all these years later, I just happened to be trained by the right guy, happened to be in the right place at the right time, and ended up in Championship Wrestling from Arizona, which is a place I now call home.
So we were talking earlier before we started recording, one of the things we should have been recording. How did you develop your whole persona and your character? You can say whatever you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, that was actually, I don't want to say it was by accident, because I don't think that's accurate. I had started coming up with the idea earlier on and never told anybody because I knew there was going to be backlash. I've gone on record of saying that Johnny Cash is one of my idols. So I took on this Man in Black character. And I had this, this idea had been swinging around in my head for a long time about how I would bring the Man in Black to life on television. And I knew that there was some major internal battles of should I take the chance and kind of change my character? Because I was wrestling a character beforehand that was slated to be a slated to be a heel. I was kind of stuck in a role with a valet at one point who had nothing to do with wrestling business. He happened to be one of the other Chinese girlfriends who got kind of thrown into the mix with me. And so instead of me getting to own my craft as far as a heel character, I more or less had to do a babysitting job out there for her, making sure she was in the right position at the right time. And I didn't really ever get a chance to develop my character. Then I ended up getting turned babyface with a heel name, Alex Sinister, that has heel written all over it.
It does.
So here this Alex Sinister character used to come out, shaking hands and kissing babies and just a big smile on the back.
But knowing you is not even.
Yeah, it looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
So.
And you hated that, I'm sure.
Yeah, what's that?
You hated that, I'm sure, when you had to do it.
At first, I didn't. It was more of a learning curve. And then I won my first championship as Alex Sinister, and I ran with him. It worked out. It was fine. It was just, I knew that it was getting stagnant, and it was a very oxymoronic perception to have in the public eye. And I knew that it was great while it lasted, but I knew if I wanted to get to a higher level, that was not going to be the one that got me there. And I started kind of juggling this idea of just being the real me. And I know in this business they would say, well, every wrestling character is just that person turned to 100, turn the dial up to 100. And that's correct. But me being a Johnny Cash fan, I started watching the movie Walk the Line. And I really sat and watched it, and I think it actually developed more. Watching that movie one time developed more in my head of what Man in Black could be as a television character in today's society. And what really did it for me, obviously you've seen the movie, it was more towards the end of the movie where Joaquin Phoenix is sitting there in this little, by this table where all these Sun record label guys were sitting around going,
I know what you're about to say. I'm sorry. I love that.
Yeah. we don't want them to film or record a live album at Folsom Prison. And he was dressed in all black, and they said, well, look at him, he looks like he's going to a funeral. And he says, well, maybe I am. And that was where the light bulb went ding.
That's like my favorite line in the whole movie.
Yeah, well, and that was the most gravitational line for me in the movie, because at the time I was at an early onset of a drug problem. And I knew that life was taking a much more realistic turn for me in a dark matter than I was really willing to admit to the public. And I was beat up, and I needed time off. I had just become a brand new father. I wanted time off. Wanted to go home, and people still to this day, they give me a lot of grief over this one. I've heard a lot of comments made in the locker room, like, oh, well, he took a lot of time off there in that time period where he was red hot. And it was just like, I already knew how to be a great pro wrestler. I already knew how to be a good wrestler. Being a father was brand new to me, and I wanted to go home and learn how to be a good dad. And to me, it was kind of like, who are you to argue? And what a blessing that was, because, when I started getting into championship wrestling from Arizona, I spoke to Nick Greenwood, who was our executive producer, about the idea of the character. And I started allowing this character to kind of come out on smaller shows, just trying to test the boundaries of like how an audience would react to him as a babyface or as a heel. And I wasn't thrilled at first. And I think that just mainly became a thing. I think that was mainly because I would go out there and the audience was so used to Alex Sinister. Now I'm being announced as the Man in Black, Alex Salyers, which is my shoot name. And they were a little confused. And I don't blame them. But I started having the, to realize the task of personifying this character with that one line from the movie, as far as, maybe I am dressed for a funeral. But I started thinking a little deeper, and it was kind of like, I had just gotten in and out of rehab. I just overcome a drug addiction, and I thought, maybe I could play off of this. And it sure as hell paid off, because when people ask me now, like, what's your, in a nutshell, like in a few sentences, if you had a gun to your head, what is your wrestling character? Who is the Man in Black? And I always tell them, I'm a guy in mourning at my own funeral. The old Alex Sinister character, who was a bright, handsome young kid who had a bright, fruitious career in the wrestling business. It didn't work out because he had a nearly broken neck. He had to leave to go home and get his neck fixed, and then go home and be a dad. Had a drug problem, and life got a hold of him, and so did all of his demons. And now the Man in Black is the fruition of that. And now he's standing here at a funeral mourning that young kid who had a bright chance. And now you get the realistic side of life and the Man in Black, and you're ready to shut the casket on what was and deal with what is. And that catapulted me in such a cool way, because I think our audience resonates with that in such a realistic and just not just realistic, but such an empathetic way. Because I think a lot of people can understand what I've been through because they've been through it in some similar fashion.
I think that's too, like, that is Johnny Cash in a nutshell too. Like, he was the exact same way. I love Johnny Cash though. Okay, so what are your plans as far as the future? Do you want to stay on the independent circuit, or would you rather make the leap to WWE, which is kind of risky for anybody right now? But
well, obviously the goal for anybody in my position would be to want to get signed.
mm-hmm.
I know that is not always
Feasible.
the most realistic goal to have in today's world of pro wrestling. I'll be honest, I'm not in the best physical shape. I mean, there's injuries that I won't be able to recover from. There's injuries that I won't be able to recover from fully. I mean, there's, some people know it, but I've got a plate and 8 screws in my ankle. I've had neural ablations in my neck where they had to burn the nerves dead completely on both sides of my neck in order for me to feel my arms again, because the nerves were pinched so bad that I couldn't feel my fingertips anymore. So, I don't expect to have the shelf life in the wrestling business quite the same as Ric Flair. That being said, I'm taking it a day, each day as it comes. But obviously, I would love to be signed to the WWE. However, I have had some extremely close calls, some extremely scary situations happen in the wrestling business. That, at this point, I'm just grateful for every chance that I get to have. Being able to lace my boots up and walk out to the curtain another night in one piece. I'm more grateful for that than anything, because I know it can all come to an end in the blink of an eye. So, obviously, I would love to go to the WWE. I've had some really, really incredibly humbling things happen with me in the wrestling business that if it all ended today, I could probably walk away and, keep my head up and go, hey, I had it my way, and I did a great job, and I did everything I could for every promoter I worked for. I showed up to every show. I worked sick. I worked hurt. I worked injured. I worked tired. I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and twice on Sundays, back-to-back shows. I was a reliable and employed guy in the wrestling business. And the only time I can recall ever having to cancel on a booking the same day of the show was when I had to take my daughter to the hospital because of a breathing issue. And they fully understood. But that was the only time in 10 years that I've ever had to say, hey, I can't make it, and I won't make it. Something else came up. It didn't. That was some of the biggest fights that I've had with my, I guess you can say, fiance. That has been rocky because of drug addiction, but that was one of the biggest fights I remember. Was I had gone to the hospital after landing on my head and neck. I was in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and I landed on my head and neck from the top rope, and it was such a bad landing. The only reason I can recollect any of it is because I've seen the footage. Without the footage and me being able to see it and it being available to the public, I don't remember cognitively. I don't remember that match. But I got up and wrestled the rest of the match with what I thought was a broken neck. I'm dealing with chest cold.
You
But
and me both.
it was after that I had to take some time off, but I wrestled like 6 more months, and that was one of the worst fights I had ever been in with her. Was, I had gone to the hospital that night. I was in the hospital till about 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been doing all kinds of X-rays and CT scans on my head and all kind of neurological exams because the damage looked pretty bad. And they released me from the hospital. I went home, slept a few hours, got up, packed my wrestling bag. And she walked in the room, saw me packing my gear, and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I've got a show today." She's like, "You're insane." And she's like, "We can't do this. Like, you can't do this. Like, you have a family at home." And my response to her was like, "Have you seen our cabinet and how little food we have in there? Like, I need to make it to the show if you want to eat for the week." And that was one of the worst. I walked out the door and got in the car and went and did that show. And looking back, she had every right to be that angry at me because she relied on me as a father, soon to be husband, and as a provider in the household. She had every right to be upset with me. And I was wrong for that one. I was wrong for that one. I couldn't be a man and admit that I was wrong for that one. If I was in her position, I would have been just as equally as angry, if not more. And I know my answers are a little long-winded, but
Sure, it's fine.
But all in all, to answer your question specifically, obviously I would love to go to the WWE, but I understand that I have negligently used a lot of my bumps on my. I don't know if you've heard the term the bump card. Your bump card runs out after so many years, taking so many bumps in the ring.
You got so many punches on that card.
Yeah. I got my ass chewed out by guys that had been around 10, 15, 20 years earlier on, and I'd come back to the curtain and they would chew me out up and down. What are you doing taking bumps like that for such a small pay in front of an audience that's so small, or a show that isn't the payoff? Like, what are you doing taking bumps like that when they don't matter? And at the time, I was in the mind frame of just having the best match on the card. Now I want to have the match that sells the most tickets on the card, not the most, spot festive match on the card. You know what I mean? I don't have to have a 5-star Kenny Omega match every time. I just want to get the point across and tell the story and sell the tickets. And had I learned that when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, my career would probably have a little more longevity promised to me. But I don't have that now, and I have had to come to terms with that. So WWE is obviously on the agenda, and obviously a goal, but I understand that I might have a mountain to climb in comparison to some of the molehills that some of the younger generation has to climb to get there. So I take what I can get. I'm grateful for it.
So what about something like Ring of Honor or something like that? Like,
Love
you
it.
only have to wrestle, like, how many nights a month? Like 2 or something? It's crazy.
2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
I take it. I take it in a heartbeat. I take any chance I can get out there because I love it, and I've always said that I'll be employed by the wrestling business till the day I die. I'll never be able to walk away fully. I know that someday my time will come where I have to hang on it for good and not ever get in there physically perform, but I was at least smart enough, and humbly I was afforded the opportunity to go to a set of people who would later on start teaching me how to do other jobs in the wrestling business. I know how to do a lot of things in the wrestling business other than just go out there and have a collar and elbow tie up. And because of that, when it's my time to step out of the ropes for good, I'll always have something to do backstage behind the curtain to help the younger generation. And I've always contributed that to the life of the Undertaker. You want a guy that's always giving back to the wrestling business? That would be the Undertaker. And I want that legacy. I want people to talk about me when I'm gone and I'm dead. I want people to be able to talk about me and say, you know, he had his issues. There were times where he was difficult to deal with when he was young and not as well polished. And he was, because that's what I always tell people. Like, I was a kid in the wrestling business. That was a weird transition. Think about that. Like, close your eyes and imagine having to be the kid in high school as a freshman, having to learn how to still be, you know, sociable and fit in with a society as a kid at 14 years old. And learn how to ask the girl to dance, so to speak. And learn how to be that kid while still learning how to be a guy who knows how to disconnect from society, because you have to learn how to be able to sell a t-shirt and then disappear in smoke with their money when you sell a t-shirt and live a very adult life as a kid. That was a very odd transition that, in my opinion, hindered a lot of friendships, hindered a lot of life experiences. And I've said this before, not quite on a microphone, but I'll say it now. There was a lot of experiences that I missed out on as a teenager that I, for a little while, regretted. Now I'm almost 25, and I've had more than half my life.
Everybody's dying over there, guys.
We both died over here.
One, please, one, over here. I look back, you know, I've had over half my life now in some sort of involvement in the wrestling business. Maybe not technically in the wrestling ring, but I've had some sort of time and involvement in the wrestling business for over half my life now. And looking back at it, seeing as some of the really cool things I've gotten to do in the wrestling business, the cool things I've seen, places I've been, and most of all, the people I've gotten to become friends with and cross paths with, things that would mean the most to me. Now I don't feel so cheated out of the life of a teenager, you know, asking to go to prom and becoming prom king, being a star quarterback and being a popular kid in school, because I was none of the above. And I wouldn't trade any of that now. Looking back at, you know, looking at where I've come and looking at some of the really cool things that I've gotten to experience in the wrestling business and things that I will hold near and dear to me until I die. And I've always said that I'll have a life to talk about and so many stories and cool things to talk about with my grandchildren someday. I wouldn't trade any of that now. I'm glad that the night that my prom went on, you know, most kids are in the back of a limo or the back of some old pickup truck getting laid, and you know, now your graduation, you're getting laid, you're partying, you're drinking, you're this, you're that, you're doing all kinds of dumb stuff. I was at home watching wrestling and studying because I was going to have another show the following week. I was living a life at a young age that most people my age couldn't understand. And I had the hopes and expectancy to have that pay off. And in some ways it did. So I wouldn't trade that. I'm grateful for that experience. And I'm grateful for that roller coaster ride that I had at such a young age, that now, even though I'm still considered so young by many, I have a slew of guys that come to me and go, hey, what'd you think of this? How would you do this? And I get to coach, and I get to give my 2 cents. And it's kind of funny how that kind of comes full circle. Like, I'm a young guy, but I'm an old guy at the same time.
Right.
Because I've had a lot of ass time in the wrestling business. And like I said, I used to feel like maybe I made the wrong decision getting so heavily involved at such a young age. And again, I'm not saying that I would allow my kid to do the same thing as he grows older. If I had a son someday, I wouldn't necessarily be totally keen and sold on the idea of allowing him to do the same thing, but I wouldn't trade my experience for anything. I feel like the wrestling business, without getting too far into detail, so quick off the bat, my parents had their issues, and I had my issues with my parents, and in a way, I feel like the wrestling business raised me. I feel like the wrestling business parented me and raised me and molded me into the man I am today, and has such a gigantic influence as to who I am as a human being today, with life experiences and learning experiences that some good and some bad have really affected the way I look at life and the way I treat people and the way I treat situations when they come across my life. So I wouldn't trade it, not for anything. I absolutely would not trade being that 16-year-old kid who was shedding weight for the wrestling team, learning how to be a legitimate shoot wrestler just to be a better wrestler in the ring, and then go out there and have a 40-minute match at 16 years old. Regardless of quality, I just would not trade that, because I don't know many people who, by the time they're on their deathbed, could say that they did that.
Right.
And I think that's such a unique lifestyle and such a unique experience and such a unique thing to be able to tell my grandchildren someday. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't trade that for being a prom king. Because you only get to see.
I was just thinking when you said that, like, you don't look like a prom king. Not, like, it's not like your persona at all, like your personality at all to be a prom king.
No, I'm the reason.
It's overrated.
It is.
And they get to live vicariously through me on TV. They get to live vicariously through me as friendships. And you only get to be prom king, for one night.
For a couple hours.
And then when you're 18, you go in and start flipping handles. You get to be prom king for one night. You can talk about prom king for one night. Nobody really cares, because there are so many people across this world that got prom king for one night. Nobody cares.
This was like a
Well,
no, I mean,
we may have gone into that territory.
I don't mean to make it sound like that, but I'm just saying, like, that you don't get to be prom king for one night. You get to lace up your boots so many nights and so many cities and so many people that you care about after a while. And I've learned a craft that so few people really get to learn in their lifetime at such a young age. I've never hurt anybody. I am of the Bret Hart mentality. Same thing about Bret Hart, but he never hurt anybody. I haven't either. And I consider myself I consider myself and I owe everything I am as a human being and as a man to the wrestling. I didn't learn how to balance a checkbook in high school. I didn't learn how to do algebra very well in high school, and I didn't learn how to change brakes and rotors and oil changes on vehicles in high school. I learned all that throughout my life, but the one thing I knew how to do that nobody, and I was fully confident that nobody knew how to do, was go out there and tell a story with your body and have a 40-minute main event match that, regardless of quality, I learned how to do something so few people in this world can comprehend. It's just such a cool little storybook life to tell that I was blessed with. And I wouldn't trade it for that one night of being prom king, or that one night of having some sort of relation with that one pretty girl in high school that you always wanted. I didn't need any of that. I wanted it, didn't have it, got bitter about it, but now as a grown man, I look back and go, I didn't have any of that, but look what I did have. I got to have nights in the wrestling business where I trained and wrestled a guy in a practice match one night who will remain nameless. And I remember one night, I ended up, we did this practice match, and I rolled him up for like a quick finish. And he got up off the mat, shook my hand, and hugged me, and he told me, I must have been 16, 17 at the time, and he hugged me and he said, when you turn 18, kid, you give me a call, you get a job. And that meant more to me than prom king or, any of that other horse shit.
Mm-hmm. Taught you a lot about responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said it taught you a lot about responsibility and, discipline as opposed to, the prom king.
Well, it was a shot of humility too.
Yeah.
In the wrestling business, I don't say this very often because I don't get this far into depth of conversation very often anymore with people who care about wrestling, but in pro wrestling, you have to learn how to get your heart broken. And I've had my fair share. That being with friendships, relationships, and opportunities that I thought I deserved and didn't get and watched somebody else get. And it was one of, at a younger age, it was like, why didn't I get that? It was like pissing and moaning, but now it's just like, okay, I just have to work harder and, make it more of a unanimous decision that any opportunity that comes about that, I'll make sure that it belongs to me next time, and I don't feel like many people got to learn that harsh reality of the real world that I did at such a young age. And I'm thankful for that too.
Good point. Okay, I have one kind of fun question to ask. So, do you watch WWE regularly or no? Do you watch it every week?
I am a fan of older wrestling, not so much. I totally love and respect where wrestling is going now as far as the mainstream world is concerned and WWE is concerned. I love going back and watching wrestling. Like, I like going back and watching CWFAZ in the 1950s and Nick Bachman. I like going back and watching the stuff that I grew up watching. Ahmed Johnson.
He's the encyclopedia.
Well, yeah. Well, you're the encyclopedia.
How are you?
But
There could be more than one girl from the encyclopedia.
That's true.
I can't say that.
But to answer your question, I keep up with it, pretty regularly, I suppose.
Okay. So my question would be, is there somebody that you see out there today that you're like, okay, their gimmick is all wrong and you know what you would do for them to fix it? But they're not getting over or they're not, and you're just like, no, I would do this. Because you're talking about how you wanted to be a coach and that type of thing.
Only one.
Well, I guess the easy finger to point would be to Roman Reigns, but that's because there's this oversized general consensus of how they view Roman Reigns. I'm not that guy. I'm more of an mission critique than I am a I'm more of an in-ring technique critique.
So somebody that you could help out with. I think it'd be really good if they got some help.
Well, son of a bitch. I've done a lot of podcasts and I've been asked a lot of questions and one that
Dumped him.
I did.
one that I never.
I'm gonna test your coaching skills.
So it's are you talking about specifically?
Anyone.
Oh, I don't know. I think so much. I think some things that I would if I'm doing not so much overall. I don't like the super fixes used to be used as, at one point, if you're old enough to remember, there was one point where DDT was used by one man. That was Super Kick was used by one man, and that was Shawn Michaels. Who won how many world titles in your opinion? How many championships he was a Grand Slam champion with that one move? He put down guys that were almost 7 feet tall with that one move. And I was seeing it
26 times.
26 times in a match, transitioned almost as if it was basically really headlock. And that really bothers me. So it's not a systemic thing that I would, try to put it back to. It is more of, like I said, an even technician and technique thing that I have more of an issue with. I'm not a fan of the Bigfoot, for example. We saw I talked about that earlier. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of the tournament. It's just not my thing. But I don't knock it because the dude's making a killing off of it. And I'm not going to hate on that because there are a lot of guys that still demand his shoes and still have tried to do something private like that. So I'm not going to hate on it and wish death upon him
We love Joey.
yeah, I'm not going to wish death upon him like Jim Cornette would.
Oh no.
I don't hate on the guy. It's just not my thing. Just like it's not my thing to watch a guy go out there and wrestle a 9-year-old or a sex doll or a blow-up doll or an invisible man. Those kind of things make me feel like, that would make Luthez roll in his grave. But I know that wrestling has changed periodically, and from generation to generation, wrestling has changed, and I have to respect that and understand that and move on, move past it. I perform to an expectancy that, to a standard of which I feel is correct, and that's just my way of training, and that's the way I was brought up. I'm not going to sit here and say those guys are wrong to do that, because in whatever circle and realm of wrestling that they're performing in, it works and it draws money, and that's their way of doing the business, and it is what it is. I just don't see me being a guy that would really do things like that. Two craftsmen that made wrestling look so real to me, that to me is a little overboard. But as far as the gimmick goes, there's not anybody that I can really think of necessarily off the top of my head. I'm sure on my drive home tonight, something will hit me and go, oh, I should have said that. But as far as the gimmick goes, no, I don't see anyone that I can critique or give my 2 cents on as to what their gimmick is missing, because a lot of guys are hitting it right on the head nowadays because the fourth wall is broken. Not just broken, it's shattered.
Broken, you say?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my god. Yeah.
and that really comes down to, let's be honest, that comes down to preference. That, I can give my opinion on what so-and-so's, gimmick is missing or needs more of, or fine-tuning and stuff like that. That's all opinion-based. And, for my one opinion of so-and-so missing this or that, there's probably another 100,000 people who would disagree. So that's the one I'd have to put some thought into.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of guys that don't get any attention because they don't connect with the audience. Like, I don't know how I guess you can't really teach that, though. You either connect with them or you don't.
Well, yeah, that I do agree with. There was, if you had to ask me sitting here as a fan, not a worker, a wrestler, the guy that I always just could not get behind, could not get emotionally invested in, even as a heel, I was never if you consider it a bathroom break match, for me would always be Jack Swagger. That was a guy that, for me, it was just like, there's just nothing to this guy that stands out. Nothing makes me want to watch him get beat up or beat somebody else up. There's just nothing to this guy that just makes me interested to even care to watch the screen.
It's just indifferent. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just one of those guys. And I understand his gimmick. I understand his background. Not that he didn't have a gimmick to him and there wasn't any credibility to his amateur style of wrestling. I guess there was just, for whatever reason, for me as an individual and as a fan, I couldn't get behind that. I just, like, oh, Jack Swagger, I guess now would be a good time to go make a snack. Or
He doesn't really have much of a personality.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
And,
He's kind of blah.
yeah, and I'm sure, there was other guys that, were like that too, that I could probably think of later on that I could come up with it. I probably felt the same way, in retrospect. But as far as me giving my 2 cents, I'm more of the guy that, stands behind the curtain and, like, when a referee comes back, for example, I've had this conversation with some of the referees here locally. They'll come back and go, hey, stop, wait a minute. Remember when this happened in the match? I'll kind of go through I'll like dissect an entire match. Not that it's my place. I know that it's not my place. And I know that it's not, my say is not to be all in all. I only do it because I just feel like, there were guys humble and kind enough to do that for me. And I try to give back to the wrestling business by doing the same thing, even if it's not asked. I'll pull a guy aside and go, hey, remember when you did this in the match? It got this reaction, but here's where I think you probably should have put it instead, and it would have gotten a much bigger, explosive reaction from an audience rather than doing it here. It was a great thing to do. It just wasn't placed in the right spot in the match. And I'll go through those things.
Right.
Gimmick-wise, not so much. Match performance, absolutely.
Okay. And you've probably been asked this question before, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Past wrestler and current wrestler, who would be your dream matches?
Ooh. Are we talking WWE or
Anything?
anything? Ooh. I would have liked to see Kenny Omega. And I'm not saying this has happened. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen Kenny Omega and Seth Rollins on a WWE scale. I would have liked to have seen Samoa Joe and Vader. That was one I would have loved to have seen. I'm a big fan of Vader. I'm a big fan of big guys in the wrestling business who can do their job well. I've been in the ring with guys who I feel are top tier big men in the wrestling business who can go against any other big guy and have a 5-star match. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'7", 210 pounds. I'm a small dude in comparison to a lot of those guys. So I would have liked to have seen a guy like Samoa Joe take on a guy like Vader. Or even if we're going back a little bit before Samoa Joe's time, as far as his WWE run, I would have liked to have seen Umaga versus Vader.
That was interesting.
So who is your dream match, though? Like you versus...
My dream?
Who would you pick?
Well,
That your style kind of...
not the shape that I used to be in. So, like, I wrestled matches a lot differently than I did when I was 19. So, if I had to take the Man in Black character as how I move and perform in the ring as more of a brawler than a high flyer, I have a few high flying moves, but I would have loved to have wrestled Chris Jericho.
That's a good one.
I mean, there's plenty of easy guys to point the finger at because, like, guys that I grew up idolizing, like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, because I grew up in that indulging, impressionable era of wrestling where it was like, oh, those are the top guys. You just become emotionally invested as a fan and don't know any better. Obviously, those are easy guys to point the finger at. But if I had to go as far as an in-ring style and character based off of what I am now, I would have loved to have gone against a guy like Chris Jericho.
I think they agree.
Hey, Bob.
The dogs want it.
The dogs want
Hashtag book it.
You know who I think? This is what I would want to see, and you may not agree. Seth Rollins.
Me?
Yes.
I would take that in a heartbeat. I'll take that. I'll think with him. He's far more agile than I think. And at one point, I thought I was the most agile dude there was. He was locally. Yeah. He went out to send me that department.
I'd say.
But that's what would be fun. Especially if I was a hero, that shit would be fun to do. He's an entertaining guy.
So who do you think is like the top, let's say, 3 guys right now in any promotion?
Well, I was talking about it.
Let's say wrestling.
Wrestling. I would say Nick Aldis is one of the more classic performers work. Also, Seth Rollins right now is one of the guys that I'm firmly behind. And not like it was a fanboy thing, but I see all. I guess it's one of those things where I came into a match to see him, and that was kind of fun. That was unique. That was cool. So him being one of them, Nick Aldis being another. Third. I'm gonna go on a smaller tier. I'm gonna say Gino Rivera. Not many guys know him all around the world, but to me, locally and on television in a circuit that I perform in, I think Gino Rivera is fine. When I say full package, you're talking about a guy who can work. He promotes a character that you can get behind as a heel completely and emotionally invest in hating as a full-on heel. And the dude can cut a promo like you wouldn't believe. And in my opinion, sometimes he does in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
So believe me, ask Ric Flair.
So who do you think is the greatest all time then? Ric Flair's up there?
Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time as far as a pioneer of the wrestling business, being an entertainer and breaking through in a mainstream into a mainstream audience. I think Ric Flair is one of the package, the full package deal guys as far as in-ring work, promo work, and elevating guys like Sting and anyone, as a predecessor to him. Absolutely. As far as another pioneer goes, I would say Harley Race, hands down.
All right, I have 2 more questions, and I think I'm done. What do you think about all of these legends coming back and taking all these matches over the younger guys that are stuck in the back, not having matches?
That's a money move. The fan in me loves it. I'm okay with it. I'm not particularly fond of every time Hulk Hogan walks out on set. I don't quite like that. However, I do feel like there is a time and a place to have that reminiscent vibe to today's world of wrestling, because it does cater to people like us that grew up watching the hottest era that ever happened, with being the Attitude Era, and then people before us, were in the NWA era and watching Dusty Rhodes and Flair. There's a time and place for that, absolutely. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. We'll take tonight, for example. I have no problem with Lita and Trish Stratus being on the show, and I especially respected the fact that they were going up against a couple of younger up-and-coming stars, along with Mickie James, who was part of that era of Trish Stratus and Lita, and kind of helped steer that team. I thought that was a great opportunity. To me, those are great opportunities, both as learning experiences and limelight opportunities to be in. I think those are golden spots to be in, and I don't shy away from them. If you're a guy in the back saying, well, this person who had their time is coming in and they're just taking up valuable time that I deserve instead. Well, if you deserved it so bad, then why didn't Vince put you there? Sit down, shut up, and work harder. Like, and I'm not just saying with Vince McMahon, I'm saying with any promotion in this day and age, when they bring back, let's just say, for example, if Dusty Rhodes was still with us and NWA had that 70-year anniversary show, and we're just hypothetically speaking, if Dusty Rhodes came out, don't you think that would be a fitting thing to do? Don't you think that would be a true gentlemanly nod of the cap to an older generation of fans? Like, absolutely. Why would you not put that on the show? Furthermore, why wouldn't you put his son on the show? Obviously, there's a time, a place, and a reason for that. And if you're one of the guys in the back going, well, that should have been my spot. Well, if it should have been your spot, then why isn't it? Ask yourself that. And I know that might make me sound like an asshole to the generation of a lot of younger guys in the wrestling business, but I'm just saying, like, I understand where people can be like, okay, Hogan, can you go home now? Can you let somebody else get some food in their mouth this time? But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, no, like, there's a time and a place for it, and when it's done right, it's done for a reason. And it works.
That's true, but like, look at like Taker and Kane and the DX thing. Like, they had it at the Australian show, and now they're having it at Crown Jewel again. Like, I feel like if you come out and you have one thing that happens, like one really good moment, one really good match, that's one thing, but like to repetitively have the same thing over and over and over of the older guys, at some point it's like, I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way, in my opinion.
No, let's say that's 4 guys in the match. Heather, Sean, Kane, and Taker. Name 4 guys on the current roster of the for big major superstars that have been around for them. Name 4 guys that you think can all the same.
I really named 4 guys? Okay. They could draw the same amount. In any promotion?
Nope. On the current WWE roster right now. And you have to be true on it.
AJ Styles.
Was he a bigger draw than Shawn Michaels?
No, but I'm saying who might be able to.
Keep in mind, in the States, that might be a different argument. And this is my thing. That might be a different argument in the States. But
I get it. Like, you're looking at it from the business side. Yeah, you're looking at it from the business side, which
you're talking about countries who may not be totally up to date. The boundaries that wrestling has totally stretched over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. They're still kind of stuck on when wrestling is booming. Keep in mind, Bret the Hitman Hart and his WWF title run as world champion was going to Saudi Arabia and Africa and Australia and all these other countries that may not have been, catered to very much as far as the pro wrestling world is related to. They're still kind of stuck on that because that's what they remember and that's what they know. So, in a way, I can kind of see where that would be like a reason to turn heads and draw money, because you have to understand, you are going to a third world country, a foreign country, who, in this case, being Saudi Arabia, WWE has not catered to very much in the past. But you still have to have a reason to have an American audience tune into it. There's a flip side of that coin, and you have to cater to both sides equally.
So what's your opinion on the Crown Jewel pay-per-view? You think they should go?
No, I do not. That's probably the red-blooded American in me, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who disagree with that. However, it is what it is. They're going, and I can agree with the match they have as far as Taker and Kane versus DX. The fan in me kind of gets sad because it was like, I was there for Shawn Michaels' last match with the RWF. I was in the building and I watched that, and it was a tear-felt, heartfelt moment. I was in the building the next night when I gave a retirement speech, and
I
because
cried.
of that. I would have liked to have just left that as it was. Don't add anything to it. It was just it was a perfect, monumental ride into the sunset, and I wouldn't have changed that. But on the business side of it, if you're going to put any 4 guys there that are going to cater to an older generation and audience, on top of being 4 guys and 4 names that everybody in the world knows, and everybody on an American basis would always, in proven history, tune in to watch, then I guess you can't really go wrong with it. Now, are they not in their prime? Duh. Obviously, they're not in their prime. Obviously, they're nowhere near well within their means of time being on their side as far as age and ability goes. However, I would say that would be a good money-making move as far as being able to cater to both sides of the coin, as far as drawing money in Saudi Arabia and then drawing attention from an American audience who already has voiced their opinion about being on the fence of supporting them going to Saudi Arabia in the first place.
Yeah. Me and Nikki are strongly against that.
We're strongly against Saudi Arabia.
Well,
You and I talked about it. Here's my thing. I'm not fans of Saudi Arabia. Absolutely not. I'm not a fan of both. He's on hashtag cancel Crown Jewel.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm not so much sold on hashtag Crown Jewel somewhere else. That would be canceled. If they want to, no. That would be canceled. Austin and I get that, but I don't see the point. I don't see what is there to gain in the Saudi Arabian audience
Money.
that we don't already have.
It's called
here.
The dump truck of money was backed up.
Yeah,
Like $1 billion? Is it $1 billion? I think it's $1 billion.
Yeah,
somewhere around there. Yeah, that's
around $1 billion.
That's a relative figure, and Saudi Arabia is a wealthy,
Very wealthy.
They're well backed in their finances. So, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of it's a bad time. It's an awkward time, and to me, that's a bad spot to be in if you're Vince McMahon, who, had this big battle of billionaires with Donald Trump, who is now our president, who is not necessarily liked and well regarded by a large population of our country. It's just kind of one of those things where I was like, you could have probably done something else and it would have sufficed just as fine and well, and it probably would have made a decent amount of money that, wouldn't have shunned you away from the amount of money you're really going to make in Saudi Arabia. So,
well, and their stock took a hit too.
Big time.
Big hit.
Yeah.
They're losing money now.
Yeah.
I don't know. By the time all of their feet touch back on American soil, maybe Vince will go, "Oh, we made a mistake." But we're not in Vince's pocket, and we don't know what the bank account looks like for WWE. So I can't really comment on that truthfully and go, well, this is what it should be. I don't know that. You know what I mean? That's not my place. I'm just saying, if you just ask me hey,
what's your opinion?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia would be a no-go. And I don't like the fact that women can't wrestle there, and because to me it's just kind of we're going to bring up all these women, make them work really hard, give them this big gigantic push, their own pay-per-view, this and that, and then we're all going overseas, but you guys can't come because their God said you're not allowed to.
And they might
to me, that's kind of in today's day and age, that's a slap in the face. And Jim Cornette kind of hit it on the head. Okay, take this gigantic bit of money that they're going to pay you as an extra bonus to make sure you guys are there and well kept. You send that right back to America and divide it all up equally and give it to all the women who have worked hard to help push your product. To me, that's kind of fair. To me, it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, in-your-face radical way of thinking, but I can get behind that because, you know, if we were doing this 10, 15 years ago, not long after 9/11, and, you know, an American journalist hadn't been murdered on their territory, and we were talking about people like, you know, I don't know, Abel when she came back, and, you know, when women in the wrestling world were not regarded as true athletes, like, whatever.
Hypersexualized,
Yeah, yeah, I can agree. But now it's like, okay, women are working as many dates and just as hard
Working their asses off.
as the men, and they're doing a pretty damn good job.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view is amazing.
The pay-per-view.
Yeah, the pay-per-view was well worth your time and your money, you know, if you bought the network. And, you know, it's just, I couldn't say that 10 years ago, have the network there. I couldn't say that 10 years ago with who we had involved in the wrestling business as women are regarded. So, and I'll be honest, like, I'm not one of those guys who was like, oh, Tori Wilson's on, let me make sure I tune in. Like,
You weren't a fan of the bra and panties matches?
Yeah, you can call bullshit on me all you want, but I'm telling you right now, it took a lot more than a large rack and a pretty face to make me want to tune in to watch wrestling if you couldn't have a legitimate looking wrestling match, and that bothered me. So
there's guys like that didn't care either.
Yeah, and I was just kind of one of them, you know, because, like, to me, like, pretty girls are everywhere. So it's not like I have to tune into WWE to see a pretty girl, because, like, the internet exists. I want to see a pretty girl. I know a few websites, but you know, it was just, I don't know, the Saudi Arabia thing. There's a lot of controversy over it, and at this point, America seems to have the biggest problem with something that they care about, which is pro wrestling and the WWE product itself. They have a big problem with you going to Saudi Arabia. Maybe you shouldn't touch the stove while it's on and hot. Maybe you should draw back a little bit. That's my opinion.
But at this point, we're going hand first.
But
we're going hand first.
At this point, yeah, Vince's hand is already full on into the stove, and he's just going to take the burn on it. And it's either going to pay off or it's not.
If you were on that roster, like a couple, like John Cena says he's not going, and supposedly Daniel Bryan's not refusing to go, would you be one of the guys that would be like, I don't really want to go, and like try?
Or would you take the pay?
Or would you just go, take the pay and go?
I don't know. I really don't, because I'm not in that situation. I'm not saying that going over there necessarily compromises your beliefs or your morality as an American. That's not fair for me to say, because you're still an employee. You're still getting paid a good salary to go out there and do your job, and you're expected to go out there and do your job and show up just like any other blue-collar American in this country. We don't always like our jobs, but we show up on time and we do the best that we can, because that is our job, and that's what keeps a roof over our heads. So, that being said, chances are I would go to Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't like it. I sure as hell wouldn't like it. And I would not be willing to compromise my thought process and my moral stance on it. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't necessarily go over there and still do what I'm paid to do and do my job, because you have to also understand the other side of it. Saudi Arabia has a lot of wrestling fans. And just because their government does not abide morally, you know, with an ethic code, you know, that we are okay with, that doesn't mean that the rest of the people that live in Saudi Arabia shouldn't be allowed to see wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily fall on everybody's head there. So chances are I would go, but I think it's a safe bet to say that I would have monumental reservations about going over there. I would be definitely unhappy about it. And chances, I don't know, maybe I would just be like, sorry, Vince, staying home.
Yeah.
Pay me later. I'll take the pay cut. I'll take the 3-day vacation and stay home with my daughter, and, you know.
Well, like, to me, it's, they may want to see wrestling, but at the same time, they still don't like us. Like, we're still going to go over there and we're going to put on a show for them. But then when you go home, there's still going to be like, and that's not just the government, that's just the general population over there. They don't like Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Period.
Well,
so I feel like, there, they want to see wrestling. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but in totality, to be fair, we spend at least a quarter of a year going back and forth to Canada, and they don't like us either. But we sure as hell make
but they don't want to kill us.
A hell of a lot of money from them.
But they don't want to kill us.
Canada doesn't want to kill anybody.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That they don't want to kill
Canada's
us.
got this big wall around them called America, where they don't have to worry about wanting to kill somebody.
Newsflash: a lot of the world doesn't like us. Newsflash: I don't know if you knew that.
I do know that.
Okay, but the same thing's to be said about like if we went to Russia.
Yeah, China.
China and Russia.
They go to China.
They're not very fond of us. You know, they'll sit in the same room with us and they'll shake hands and, you know, play nice with us.
China, same thing.
Yeah.
They go to China.
We go to China. They'll go to Russia. They'll go to, they'll go to a lot of places that we don't exactly have an unblemished history with.
Dubai's a little bit different. But I don't know. I just have a big issue with it.
My point being, though, is like there's a lot of places we could go that would kind of be similar as far as that country not liking us or our moral code or ethic.
But I don't think it would be as hostile of a like immediate situation if you went to China or Russia or whatever. Like it's not quite as hostile. Like you could get kidnapped and beheaded. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not quite the same. I get they hate us. They could do something to us. I get that, but to me, it's just not quite the same.
Yeah, but is that also because we just had
no, they do. They have women in their jails that have done absolutely nothing that they're going to behead. I'm just talking about Saudi Arabia. Like they're going to behead. It's like on the list to behead, and they literally are in jail for nothing.
And I'm by no means telling you you're wrong either. I totally get it. I understand the reservation of a lot of Americans not being okay with them going over to the place that we call, the enemy. It just comes down to me. Like I said, like we're not in WWE's bank account, so the business move is the business move, and I don't know who it's on behalf of, and I don't know who gets the greater end of the cut, really. I can see Saudi Arabia maybe wanting us to go over there because they're going to turn the dollar over a lot because of WWE. But at the same time, it's like if you rewind how 17 years ago, you know what I mean? There would have never been any talks about going over to the Middle East for anything because 2 of our towers collapsed on our soil because of it. So.
And how many were Saudi?
Yeah. Well, just the Middle East alone, and just the progression of the law, the progression of the beliefs and the moral system over there, and what I mean, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a geologist as far as Saudi Arabia versus Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. I don't know all that stuff. Geologist?
I know I wasn't gonna say
fuck
anything.
You guys. I've had ramen.
Geologist is like It's like
geographer.
Geologist is like him is like biospheres, right? Is that what a geologist is?
Sure.
I think.
Probably digs up dinosaur bones.
I was gonna say a geologist.
No, that's archaeology.
Studies. Yeah, that's an archaeologist.
Like biospheres.
Okay, first of all, I'm a professional wrestler. I don't know what kind of scholar you guys think I am. Okay, back off.
We think you're an amazing scholar. Okay.
My point being, though, is like I don't know the ties or lack thereof.
Saudi Arabia is definitely the most, as far as the government is concerned. Afghanistan has like the radical groups, but Saudi Arabia is actually the government.
There's a lot of history, but I'm just not going to say it because we're going to get way too political.
Yeah.
Well, but we've also you can't turn a cheek to it. Like you said, it's
very political.
But at the same time, we've had a hot and cold relationship with all of the Middle East far before 9/11. Going back to Desert Storm and before then, all the way back to the Cold War, Vietnam, the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have a lot of blotchy history with the Middle East and their involvement in a lot of our allies and stuff like that. Before I go into war
History lesson.
and history nerd buffer lesson stuff, we have a blotchy history with them. So it's, I don't know, for all we know, in 10 years, Vince will be like, screw that, we're never going over there again because something will happen.
I think he's probably already learned his lesson, is thinking that.
Well, okay. And you know what? Since we're on the subject, I did have this conversation with your brother the other day.
Really?
Yes. What's Vince to do now?
Well, he has 8 more years on his contract.
He's already booked the show. He's already paid for the arena. He's already paid to have his spot there. Saudi Arabia has probably already drawn the money. Everybody's got their money on the table. Do you want to be the guy that backs out of that deal now?
With them, no.
Well, not even just with them. Do you want to be the guy that backs out with that kind of money on the table? All your employees are banking on that pay now because you've already involved them.
Yeah, but you could take it somewhere else.
But do you know how hard that is to do this close to it?
You're Vince McMahon.
The legal ramifications.
And yeah, exactly. The legal ramifications. Because that's, for all we know, depending on the parameters of contractual agreements, Vince could be in breach of contract for backing out of the deal.
He could get sued for 3 times the amount.
Yeah. It's just, we don't know that. And that's something to think about too. You can't necessarily, chances are Vince has already forced the hand so far into the stove while it's on and hot, you can't pull out of it now without just taking the burn.
But then what is he going to do next year? Because he's got 8 years left on that contract.
Well, and you wonder if there's some kind of clause in there, if something I almost said catastrophe.
Catastrophic.
Yes. That.
I'm just providing you guys with these words.
I know, I'm like a catastrophe clause.
Yeah, the college professor.
Seriously? You wonder, if there is some kind of clause where it's like, if we drop a nuke or something, can we pull out of this?
Yeah. Well,
you would think that we would.
At some point, we weren't.
There has to be some kind of clause.
Maybe, but
Somewhere.
at some point we started importing Cuban cigars again too. So I mean, it's just, we don't know what's going to happen down the line.
Exactly.
And I'll be honest, I didn't hear of an 8-year contract like you just mentioned.
It was 10. This is the second year.
So this is year 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's to say that they can't back out of it? You know what I mean? It's just a matter of this close. You've already backed it with so many financial agreements, and you've already backed it with so much publicity and mainstream media attention. What are you going to do now this close to it, now that everybody's pissed off about it? Like, if you're Vince McMahon, what are you going to do? You're just going to pull it out and go, we'll just go to Australia or something. Or we'll go somewhere where tensions aren't.
We'll go to London.
Yeah, we'll just go, how do you do that?
And I understand that because that's from a business money. I get that. But when the Senate is telling you, do not go over there, do not do this, that to me is a little bit more serious than just to me, that's kind of a big deal when the Senate is telling you don't go.
Yeah, well, when you're Vince McMahon, you're allowed to make crazy radical decisions.
Well, yeah.
And your wife's on Trump's cabinet.
Yeah, that too.
Easy now, you're going to get a shot.
It's a true fact. She's on.
Well, it's true. I mean, his wife was on Trump's
The
cabinet.
FBI and Illuminati's listening to us right now. These people need to go.
I want to be a part of the Illuminati.
You know what? And Bo Dallas didn't get shot for his Talk is Jericho podcast. We're good.
That's true.
That's true. He was talking some real crazy shit.
That's true.
Yeah, this train took a different direction.
Yeah.
One I wasn't necessarily expecting.
I was going to bring up WCW in North Korea, but hey.
I feel like I got into a political debate by accident.
Anyway, do you remember the WCW North Korea story?
Vaguely.
They took Muhammad Ali and Ric Flair over there. And they're sitting there. And Ric's like, what the fuck's happening? And Muhammad Ali's like, these fuckers are crazy. They never went back.
Well, maybe they're learning this lesson this time.
Can I just say I wanted to fly on the wall? Just to see those two in North Korea. Think about it. Just to imagine those two
Imagine today's world of Flair being.
in North Korea with Muhammad Ali,
Yeah.
who is a ghost at this point. That would be a movie.
Okay.
No? I'd watch it. All right.
Teach Kim Jong-un
Might be interesting.
and say woo.
Woo. You know, that means Bischoff was over there too. Oh, God.
God. Leave him over there.
He fired all of North Korea over the phone or via FedEx.
And made them pay for it. He made them pay the collect call.
Yeah.
All right. So my question for you is, it's pretty relevant to next week. Well, this week when this comes out. Mike, your opinions on Miracle, Mike, James. I have my opinions. What are yours?
Morally
You
and
have to explain who that
contractually,
is.
I don't know how far I'm allowed to go with that. So,
You have to explain it first.
what's that?
You have to explain what you're talking about first, though.
Yes, let's explain. Mike.
Okay, in a nutshell, me and this guy have been married, and when I say married, like we have been at each other's throats trying to kill each other over the last year and a half on television. And during that year of television, I don't think our company being Championship Wrestling from Arizona, has ever seen more blood spilled on their canvas between two human beings, and more hatred spill throughout a social media presence and a personal presence and a locker room presence. I don't think there's ever going to be two guys in the history of this company. I don't think there's ever going to be two guys in the history of this company, past, current, or, future, that are going to be talked about with the regard of hating each other quite the way him and I do. And being able to go a year and a half of having substance to fight over and keeping the audience on the edge of their seat for a year and a half. Not many guys can say that they've had enough substance in their characters and substance as people in the wrestling business to be able to do that. The last time I feel we've seen that on a night-to-night regular basis was Flair and Dusty Rhodes. So, and I'm sure there's a handful and a slew of guys that have done that on a mainstream basis, over the last several years, if you want to get into semantics. But
I'd liken it to Ambrose and Rollins.
that's fair.
You guys basically want to kill each other.
That's fair. Yeah.
You
And
basically want to kill each other.
Yeah, but Ambrose and Rollins had love deep down inside.
That's true. I don't think people are writing slash fanfics about you guys.
well, I would draw it back to more of a realistic brawling, hatred and blood spilling feud.
That's for
I would draw it back to Sean and Brett.
Yeah.
In 96, 97, all the way up to the
Sunny
Montreal
days.
Screw Job. So, yeah, I would draw it back to that because there's such a realistic tone, and it's backed by honesty between, our personal and professional relationship that I think really has spilled out in front of a camera lens for the whole world to see at their leisure. And man, we're about to finally close this chapter, at least for the time being. And there are scars on my flesh, and I've said that there are scars on my face and in my skin and on my body that I will live with the rest of my life over one man, and his name is Mike James. Furthermore, there are fist fights I've been out in the streets and I've lost and come out in better shape than having to be in the ring with a guy like Mike James. So, that being said, the other guy play that game as well as the man in black.
And I remember seeing that blood. It was something.
I saw the pictures, yeah.
Yeah, well,
It was something.
I just had the staples removed. What was it? 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that too.
Yeah. I ended up having to leave them in longer just to let the wound heal a little, a little longer. It didn't heal quite as long as that. Though concussion, though, since we're on the subject, was the worst of the concussions I've ever had, because for days, I had longer lasting effects from the concussion on this one than normal. Sensitivity to light, constant nausea, just shit like that.
And you wrestled right after that, right?
I did. Yeah, actually it was that same week. I had a show in LA and went out there and had to do anything and everything I could to protect my head. So, of course, I didn't tell them that I was concussed until long after my match, and I don't know how unhappy they were with me, but they did make it pretty well, noted that had they known that was the case, I would not have wrestled on their show. But it is what it is.
It's crazy.
So, you know my opinions on Mike. I've made them known, but we'll keep that between us. And Jen knows them too.
I do.
You do.
I'm afraid to know what Jen knows.
She's
Pretty much
knows
everything.
She knows everything.
Yeah,
She knows everything.
pretty much. But I don't tell secrets, so
Yeah. She's Brie mode.
I am.
Hey, as long as y'all don't kiss and tell.
Nope.
We'll just
I don't.
keep it podcast friendly.
No.
Keep it moving.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, I think I should be able to kick him in the face. Super kick?
You should hear the words come from my fiance's mouth. Because when she saw that happen, I didn't even want to go to the hospital, because I knew the drive to the hospital, having to listen to her anger and anxiety over the whole thing, was going to be more of a traumatic episode than me actually getting my skull cracked. So it was just kind of it was just a night I'd like to forget ever happened. And having hit me hard, chances are I could have actually forgotten that it happened.
So basically, she and I will jump him. Okay. We'll jump him. All right.
I'll just stand there and cheer you on. How about
Yay.
that? I don't jump.
No. You should see his face, guys. It's
Wow.
looking like a no.
All I can say is, when the bell rings and him and I stand toe to toe for one more dance, there isn't going to be another match that you're going to see probably in the future of this company for a long time, if it'll ever, that is going to be well worth her time tuning in for.
That's gonna be on Fight. Is it gonna be on Fight TV? Is that what it's gonna be on?
It's going to be on Fight TV. You can tune in every Tuesday. A new episode drops for us, for Championship Wrestling from Arizona, but you can go on there and view prior episodes and stuff like that. We're a weekly episodic television show on there, and it's free to watch. You can download on any Android or smartphone or anything like that. You can do it on your smart TV. All you got to do is sign up with an email. It's free to do, free to watch, and there's plenty of content on there that would just totally quench your thirst for good product and good television, good professional wrestling.
And blood.
Well, and the joke is, the underlying joke that's not really a joke now is always well, it's a family-friendly product. And I go, yeah, until me and Mike go out there.
True. That is true. Very true. But I feel like that's the fun part for me, is when you and Mike go out there.
Well,
No offense to everybody else, because I love everybody else too.
The only thing that you can truly put your eggs in a basket as far as your belief goes, as far as not being a pencil to paper booking decision. It's what happens out there is what happens to grown men that have a very checkered history, and it's soap opera spilling right out onto real television, and it sure as hell blurs the line between character, fact, and fiction.
even for the two of us, I think we've gone out there so many times, and we respect the fact that we're just going to have to go out there and beat the holy hell out of each other and know that we're not going to wake up the same two human beings the next morning, because I don't recall a single match I've ever had with him where I've closed my eyes at night and woke up the next morning the same human being, because I've always had some sort of physical deficit. And duly noted, I've had, years taken off my career, as I'm sure he has too, with him and I trying to beat the living snot out of each other. And not for the sake of pencil to paper booking and pleasing the powers that be in our company. It's more of, this is a legitimate competition, and we see each other as competition, and we want to go down as the best in history, and we want to be written in the history books and cemented it with our own, prospective legacies. And we're not willing to compromise that for each other.
Yeah, I'm afraid to see what's going to happen.
You should be.
I'm afraid.
I'll
going
get
to be
TikTok.
very
I'll know.
afraid. Yeah, I might just be sending you videos with my hands on them.
Yeah, send me videos of blood. I like blood.
He does. I sent her pictures of your head wound.
Yeah. I liked it. She's like, "Do you want to see him?" I'm like, "Yeah."
I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end. Because we're both sick-ish.
It's true.
Well, you're getting over being sick. And it's 12:30 where you're at.
It is 12:30.
It is. Plus, I got to watch House Party Halloween.
I gotta watch the Evolution too.
I gotta go put my kid to bed.
Yeah.
We got stuff
I
to
have
do.
my dog to bed. Because he's been crying this whole time.
Really? Like
He's
whining?
been crying, yes.
Aw.
He's in the other room.
Aw. Poor
All right,
Dean.
Alex, are you ready to say your goodbyes to the podcast?
I guess.
You guess. I'm sure you'll be back.
Yeah, I have fun. I have fun doing this whole time. I don't get to just sit and have wrestling conversations. Just jabber jaw back and forth about opinions and
And politics.
Yeah, I guess politics. Yeah. Hashtag Salyers for Senate. Whiskey in the White House.
Salyers 2020.
Yeah.
So did you explain to him what a mukbang is?
Hashtag make pro wrestling great again.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
Is he down?
We just
for
got to figure out how to pronounce it, because is it mukbang or mukbang?
Well, Trisha Paytas says mukbang.
Exactly.
She's the queen. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess you're going to be coming to the mukbang, whatever.
yeah, you're gonna have to help us eat the food.
We're going to eat food, talk about wrestling.
I'm lost.
Just don't worry about it.
Food and wrestling, there.
Yeah.
Hashtag I'm there.
We'll get you whiskey. We'll get you booze. All right, Alex. You can say your goodbyes now.
Catch us on Fight TV Championship Wrestling from Arizona every Tuesday night. You bring the whiskey, I'll bring the ass whooping. We'll see you soon.
That was a good one. I ruined it, didn't I?
You did. You can cut it. You'll be fine. You'll cut it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just cut it.
I feel like it has character.
No, I liked it without your commentary. I'm sorry.
Whose side are you on?
I'm on the side of what's best for the podcast. Did he say his?
Alex is walking out.
Well, that's not very nice.
All right. Well, we're gonna
Goodbye.
go now. Alex, Jen is saying goodbye. He's blowing kisses. And with that, guys, bye.
Bye.